"Mom, look, I think I found something," shouted Easton, excitedly. At only 9 years of age, the young boy had no business being that far from safety, searching for God knows what in the McNeil River, home of the great grizzly bear and other ravenous predators. He dunked the plastic sieve into the water, swirling it around, then lifting again, allowing the water and small debris to drain away from the strange, slimy object he found nestled in a bed of rocks and clamshells. "Wow," he whispered to himself, as the jellyfish-like object became more and more visible, and he could start to make out a pattern. But this was no jellyfish. The wonders of Alaska are great and vast, but oceanic creatures have no place here. He reached out and touched the sponge-like object with his fingertips. It was about 5 inches long and seemed to be disintegrating. Stringy bits of rotting material hung off the sieve and his hands, with one end having a more rigid cap-like tip. He heard his mother's sharp intake of breath over his shoulder, and he turned to see a horrid expression on her face. Little did he know that his discovery, this heinous find, later confirmed by investigators, was the remnants of a man's penis, and as the rotting tissues fell away in his hands, so did Easton's innocence.
What's up, guys? Iceman here!
So what you're about to witness is one of the most horrid bear attacks that I've covered on this channel yet. But before I get into it, I'd like to thank you guys for all your support. And if you will, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit the bell so you're notified next time I post a video. And if you want to support me further, you can become a channel member or a patron. Links in the description below. So let's get into this chilling tale. Bruce Anderson, a successful architect, had it all. A beautiful wife, 3 children, and a 5,000 square foot house in upstate New York. Many who knew him recognized Bruce as a generous man, donating to various charities and even starting one of his own that operated as a thrift store to fund the local homeless shelter. He did the hiring, and perhaps it was a mistake that he hired a 19-year-old woman from his church to run the front counter. After his affair with the young woman was exposed, he faced immense social backlash in the community. His wife graciously forgave him, and they both agreed he should take some time away as a means to clear his mind, for some soul-searching, and as a way to reconcile himself back to good morals. It's a shame, considering such things, that the giant grizzly bear did what it did to him, even in front of several witnesses. And what a sight it was, mutilating his carcass as he attempted to fight it off, but to no avail. The vast wilderness of Alaska had always appealed to Bruce. He too was a wild and untamed force, and he felt a certain kinship with the apex predators in the region. Male grizzly bears use their dominance and strength to get what they want. They don't share resources or mates, and they aren't constrained by silly social norms. The McNeil River hosts the largest gathering of brown bears in the world during the salmon run in July, downriver from the famous falls, where more than 50 brown bears have been observed together at a time. The salmon fishing can be very good for humans as well. During a salmon run, lines are typically cast from someone wading in a few feet of water, preferring not to stoop to getting wet or dirty. Bruce opted for a kayak, which was available to rent at the McNeil River Lodge, where he stayed. Bruce earned a reputation quickly during the 4 days of his stay at the lodge. Evidence on his phone suggested he had made several online dating accounts in the days leading up to his death, messaging a staggering 338 young women. He inquired with many of the young women who worked at the lodge, a few of whom were underage. A young woman who requested to remain anonymous reported that Bruce had invited her to his room. She obliged, and Bruce proceeded to proudly show her from his laptop dozens of fine buildings he had designed throughout the country. She didn't care to share any further information of their encounter. Bruce was there to clear his mind, to soul search. The beautiful Alaska scenery took his mind by storm. The glistening waters around him, the large rock formations, and the great expanse of wilderness and nature. It was his fourth evening there, out on his rental kayak, a few miles from the lodge, where the evil incident occurred. Onlookers described the incident as the most heinous thing they have ever witnessed. One gentleman was armed with a .44 Magnum, but insisted he couldn't get in a clear shot without putting Bruce at risk. Apparently, Bruce got too close to the giant grizzly while it was salmon fishing, and the bear had enough. From his kayak, Bruce could see the hulking beast only 15 feet from where he floated. The giant boar of 750 pounds waited in the shallow water, ignoring the gleeful and persistent onlooker. Bruce was amazed of the sheer size of the creature, the way its muscle fluttered with every step, the shifting of its weight, and how fast it was able to dash into the water after a salmon. Bruce took several photos from his cell phone of the apparent creature that eventually killed him. Angrily, the bear lunged at his kayak, front paws forcing the bow down into the rocks, quickly sinking the boat. As Bruce fought the creature viciously with his paddle, he hit the animal in the side of the head as hard as he could, swinging the double-ended paddle with all his might. The bear gave out a great bellow and swatted the weapon from the man's hands. Bruce dove into the water in attempt to escape the monster, but it jumped clear over the boat after him, and in only 3 feet of water began ravaging his body. Violent splashes of blood and piss filled the air as screams of horror echoed down the riverbank. The onlookers, about 40 feet away from the incident, claimed it happened within moments, but seemed to go on. The bear buried its teeth between Bruce's neck and shoulder, getting a solid grip to drag away the body. It ran a few hundred feet to a rocky riverbank, a place it could comfortably eat its surprise meal. Bruce tried, but failed to release himself from the animal's death grip. He flailed his arms and pulled at the thick fur around its neck and face, but his efforts made no impact on the bear. After reaching beach and some shrubs for cover, the bear lay the man down and began ripping into him, feeding on his desperate carcass. It ate him alive and peeled him to pieces as if Bruce were a giant salmon, shredding off his clothes and his skin with them. It scathed its giant forepaws down his belly, shredding skin down to his groin, carving off the man's genitals and large flaps of flesh from his thighs and stomach. Parts of his body floated down the river, which ran red with blood and horror. Jeez, what do you guys think about that incident? You know, it's strange how some of these stories really have unusual details on the victims' lives, and understand that many could judge him quite negatively, but I am curious, how would you judge Bruce? Let me know in the comments below. But it's just frickin' disgusting how this attack went about, and how apparently the bear left the parts that it didn't like. I've always wanted to go out to Alaska, where all those salmon runs are and where there's like bears all over the place. But hearing stories like this almost makes me reconsider, but not quite. I know it's important to treat these great animals with respect, and unfortunately, many victims of these incidents do not. They don't realize that bears of various types are great forces of nature, and they can move extremely fast when they want to. And just because they look cute and cuddly doesn't exactly mean that they are. So I sure as hell know I would at least be packing, if you know what I mean. And to be honest with you, I'd be carrying bear spray as well. I just heard another story about a guy who sprayed at a charging female grizzly, a sow. He sprayed at her when she was about 25 feet away, and she ran right through the damn cloud and attacked him, and viciously mauled his body. The man survived, but it really made me rethink what I might do in such an incident. I think I'd have the pepper spray out, along with the hand cannon, just in case. But of course, it's easier said than done, especially when just sitting behind the keyboard. But let me know your thoughts on these matters in the comments below. Subscribe to this page, like this video, and stay tuned for more chilling tales from the Iceman.